Correspondent Jacqueline Martin, who's in Cortina, Italy for the Winter Olympics and was working with an Italian photographer covering Lindsey Vohn's race on Sunday, reports it was shocking to witness her crash.
Lindsey Vonn comes through, she's coming into the turn, and as she approaches the gate, she clips the gate with her arm or her shoulder. And as soon as she does that, we know, the photographer and I, that this is bad. She clips it, it totally throws her off, and she's unable to recover. A couple pictures later, you see her body at almost a full diagonal. It's bad. She's not able to come back from that being put off balance when the impact from the gate happened. And at that moment, I just realized she's not going to be able to come back from this, and it is a bad crash. I gasped out loud. It was really scary and really sad to see this be the end of this current Olympic journey.
More on this story at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high into the mid-40s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 27. By Wednesday, sunshine, high 39 degrees. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a high around 40. Friday, we'll see some sunshine, high around 45 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 37.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the January 10th, 2026 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Substack, and Spoutable. And catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Patty Vasquez, driving you home. It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. And make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. Had a great time hanging out with Patty and Joan yesterday. I mean, it's twice in 1 week, Henry. We were at the candidate forum and debate on Friday. And then yesterday, Joan, Patty, and I kind of did a small review of what we saw, what we heard, what we felt from the event on Friday. And so it was good to hang out with my two other host colleagues, if you will, yesterday in the 4:30 hour of Joan's show. So that was great to kind of do a little bit of wrap up and review on what we felt happened and what went down at the event. So yes, make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to check out all of our articles and posts. And right now you'll see that we've got a couple new ones that are there on what's happening up in Minneapolis with the Department of Homeland Security and ICE and the treatment of folks that have been injured or caught up in this craziness. So make your way there. On today's show, with us will be Dr. Roger Mitchell, who is the physician that is head of the National Medical Association. He will be with us today, and he's been recently appointed as the president of that organization. We'll talk about a couple things. We'll talk about violence, but most medical violence or violence that leads to a medical situation, equity in the medical field, and justice in healthcare. So looking forward to chatting with him today, very shortly in the 6:30 hour. And then at 7 o'clock, we will be talking with Anderson Clayton, who is the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party. Looking forward to chatting with her and speaking about some of the upcoming events that she has and of course, our event down in North Carolina in a couple of weeks on March 1st. And Demi Palecek, who is running for state representative office. She'll be with us in studio in the 7:30 hour. So great guest as always, and looking forward to hanging out with them this morning and to talk a lot about what they're working on. And you guys you'll be pleasantly surprised, I guess you could say, to to hear what Anderson has to say about what's going on with some of the races that are taking place in the state of North Carolina for state house control, and also as it relates to some of the national with Roy Cooper. So that'll be a great opportunity, and we'll keep you posted on what's going on down there. But we've got we've got an interesting clip this morning, a little bit different, and I hope the audio is clear, and then we'll talk about this in the context of Black History Month and medicine, since we have the doc on at 6:30. But check this out, progressives.
They don't want our children, they don't want any American children to know these stories, to know these truths. They don't want them to know. Tuskegee syphilis, that's as far as we go.
Yeah.
And that was child's play compared to what was done. J. Marion Sims, the same man who experimented on all of these women, also accused enslaved Africans, accused them for the fact that the children have what we now know as neonatal tetanus. He called it Trismus nascentium, just made up something, but it's neonatal tetanus. Tetanus derives from manure. The likely cause of it because of the proximity enslaved Africans were to animal stables. But people like him caused because of where they had to sleep. But he said it was because of their indecency of their parents. So he decided he was going to try to correct it with a shoemaker's awl. And it is a pointed object that they poke holes in leather with. Every child that was born attempted to reshape their heads and had a 100% fatality rate, killed every single child. Imagine what it must have been like. And they had a statue of him until 2018 when Harriet Washington, myself, and others said, you're going to move that from Central Park.
Central Park
had J. Marion Sims. It's now at his grave, but it stood there until 2018. He was a monster. So that's not our normal clip, or certainly this month of Black History. When we talk about Black History, we oftentimes, as we should, talk about the progress and the great things that African American citizens have done for this country or the world at large. Dr. Mitchell is obviously a product of understanding how the medical field has been very skewed when it comes to care for Black Americans. And this particular clip speaks to, and I look at this as Black history, as I said always, Black history is American history. So that clip really speaks to, and let me first introduce who that is. It's Dr. Joy DeGruy Leary. And she's having a conversation, and the woman she mentioned, Harriet Washington, they fought really hard to take down a stain when it comes to American history and as it relates to Black Americans in that history. But then to the other side, we go to having a doctor like Dr. Mitchell, who has done such great things for our country. And J. Marion Sims was a physician that he basically inflicted trauma on Black women and children as a way to essentially test to see what, like she says at the beginning of the clip,
not unlike the syphilis testing that was done on black men, known as the Tuskegee Project. J. Marion Sims, not someone that was in the deep South necessarily, but he was a physician that was basically testing the resilience of black babies and black women when it came to enslaved men and women, and testing on them without the use of anesthesia or consent, for that matter. And I guess because they viewed those folks as being enslaved, that they had no rights to disapprove, i.e., no need for consent. But the reason that I played that clip, of course, we have the doc on today, so I know he's fully aware of the history there. But it's a part of American history. And we talk about how people have been treated and how, where we are today in terms of enslavement syndrome. That's a real thing, because it's not just the enslavement from the standpoint of the work and the labor and the toil and all those things that we know about. Many people don't know about the medical testing that was done, multi-generational trauma as a result of that. And post-traumatic slave syndrome is a real thing because of the manners in which you would think trusted folks, the doctors, ultimately treated citizens or treated enslaved folks, treated human beings. Let's put it that way. So it's a powerful clip. It's a longer interview that she had. But I wanted just to play that part, of course, with Dr. Mitchell being on with us today. It would be, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that the other side of this trauma is to have the excellence that he represents in the medical field be part of who we are as a community, as a country. And that's why I say Black history is American history. And we've got history makers that are alive right now doing what he's done. So kudos. Don't be afraid to look at the dark side of what's happened with our history. And that's kind of where we are right now when we look at all the other things that are going on with this administration, particularly when we talk about the Epstein files, the dark history of this country, the dark things that the country's done. But yet we persevere to get to the other side. Last week I put out a little contest for Greg Palast's movie on vigilantes. And the question was asked about who the physician was that was really the first physician to treat or attempt to treat President Garfield when he was shot in a train station. And Dr. Purvis made it clear that it might not be the bullet that was going to be the issue, that there's a possibility that treating him without anesthesia and treating him without sterilization could be more problematic. As it turns out, in the autopsy, that's the truth. But he was negated as a voice, as a black physician from Howard University, that the white physicians and the white leaders said, no, you can't treat him, and you should stand back, boy. But in fact, at the end of the day, when the autopsy was done and the review was done, in fact, he did not die from the gunshot, per se. He actually died from the lack of sterilization that the other doctors used or did not use. So to me, that's an important moment in Black history because particularly in the medical field, he was one of the first physicians to introduce not only anesthesia, but also sterilization and the importance of it when it comes to surgery. So there you go. Let's take a quick break, Henry. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Panic attacks occur most in teens or young adults, often without warning or reason. Dr. Jack Vaith of Shepherd Pratt Hospital in Baltimore.
Most people are so embarrassed by their panic attacks, they will fail to share them with their parents. And so they tend to live for many years with them until they get to a point where they say, this has been going on for 10 years, but it's now happening daily instead of weekly or monthly. And that's the lingering fear of panic attacks. I'm going to be out in public, and oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because I don't know what brings them on. I don't know how to get rid of them. Therefore, I'm going to start avoiding the public. This is how many people become agoraphobic. They're not going to leave their house for fear that they will end up subject to public humiliation as a result of one of these attacks where they can't escape and disappear.
If you have panic attacks, tell a friend. Tell your parents. Talk to a counselor. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Yes. Welcome back, guys. 773-763-9278 is the number. Got a couple of Choose Views news items for you on this February 10th, 2026. The Super Bowl flu. It's a strike. 26 million workers in 2026. Many workers may be feeling unwell or felt unwell yesterday, or at least that's what they'll tell. They told their bosses. While nearly 1 in 100 employees scheduled time off for the post-Super Bowl celebration, the actual number shows it's typically double the pre-planned absences, and those numbers are probably going to come in the next day or so. This year, an estimated 26 million U.S. workers are expected to that is the expected number to call out sick, exceeding last year's record by roughly 23 million. There you go. Bad Bunny's small pay for the big game. Turns out the big game does not translate to big bucks for the Super Bowl halftime headliner. Grammy Award-winning artist and Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny received a small union-mandated fee of $1,000 per day for his performance, according to Athletic Reports. While the NFL covers show production costs and artist travel expenses, the league does not traditionally cover superstars' steep appearance fees due to the unparalleled exposure granted by the game. Last year's performance with Kendrick Lamar drew in a record 133.5 million viewers. New York is joining the states cracking down on data centers. New York lawmakers have proposed a 3-year moratorium on data centers, joining a wave of states looking to dial back data center construction. 5 other states, including a major data center hubs in Virginia and in Georgia, have moved to restrict any new data centers that have not been approved, according to Wired reports. New York is completely unprepared for the energy demands of data centers, State Senator Liz Krueger says. The move comes as tech companies continue to invest billions in power for artificial intelligence, and the concerns are mounting over rising electricity costs. New York is also mandating paid leave for prenatal care. It's introduced a groundbreaking law requiring paid leave for prenatal care, marking a first for the U.S., according to the New York Times. The policy mandates that private employers provide up to 20 hours of paid time off for pregnant workers to receive medical attention, ranging from medical appointments to fertility treatments. Public health experts are hoping to offset a troubling spike in maternal and infant deaths, as studies have shown prenatal care can promote better health results for both mothers and babies. And then last but not least, some numbers to watch this week. After a slight delay due to the government shutdown, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release January's jobs report tomorrow. But if recent private sector indicators are anything to go by, the numbers could be pretty grim. The first month of 2026 saw the most U.S. layoffs announcements of any January in nearly 2 decades. Again, the first month of 2026 saw the most U.S. layoff announcements of any January in 2 decades, according to outplacement firm Challenger, Christmas & Gray. So tomorrow, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release their January jobs report, and then on Friday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release the monthly Consumer Price Index for January. So a couple of updates, guys, in terms of what's happening in our world, some items that are important as it relates to labor and costs, etc. All righty. Let's see what we got here. Once again, a reminder that on Sunday, March 1st, for the listeners that we have in North Carolina and other parts of the country, don't miss the Building Bridges fireside chat that will be taking place. I'll be hanging out with Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton, who'll be with us later in the show, and joined by State Reps Rodney Pierce, Dante Pittman, and Pastor James Gaillard, candidate for North Carolina State Senate. That's going to be held at the Word Tabernacle Church in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 4 Eastern Time. Go to heartlandsignal.com and click on my picture. That will take you to my show page where you can find the information about the event and a registration link as well. Or send a text to 773-763-9278. We'll send you the link. So there you go. Just keeping you up to speed on what's happening there. And what's happening here today on Live, Local, and Progressive. Joan will be taking your calls, talking to Melissa Sanchez, Chicago-based immigration and labor reporter for ProPublica. Her latest piece, the real story behind midnight immigration raids on the Chicago apartment building. Thomas Serafin, founder and CEO of Serafin and Associates, and Joel Ostro, professor of political science at Benedictine University. Live, Local, and Progressive weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT. Central Time, of course, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. And then tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Corbin Trent, Democratic strategist who served as Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's communications director and is currently the publisher of America's Undoing on Substack. Minnesota State Senator Aaron Murphy, Majority Leader of the Minnesota State Senate, and Monica Byron, President of Education Minnesota, the labor union representing more than 84,000 educators in the state. Education Minnesota recently filed a federal lawsuit challenging ICE activities near schools, citing school closures, plummeting attendance, and traumatized students and staff. That's Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT AM 820, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And then tomorrow on Choose Views, my guest will be newly sworn in Iowa State Senator Renee Hardman, Choose Views contributor Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. And we're looking forward to talking with Ms. Hardman. That'll be great. All right. We got lots of stuff going on with this wonderful station that we're part of. But let's do this real quickly before we go to the next break. Let's take a quick call from Andre here in Chicago, I believe. Andre, good morning and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mr. Chu, and thank you for having me. I listened to your show yesterday, and I enjoyed the show yesterday. You had some excellent guests on there, and I enjoyed your subject matter. But what I called you today for, Mr. Chu, is to let you know that with this thing that Donald Trump sent out with Michelle and Barack in his monkey suits, I was more offended with the black leadership. I was more offended with Barack Obama, Michelle, Hakeem Jeffries, Jasmine Crockett, for the simple fact that with all of this suppression of history and the banning of books, I think it's a teachable moment. And this is what the teachable moment is. They need to know that monkeys and humans are cousins. They need to know that we share 96 to 98% DNA with monkeys and they are apes. And I think that maybe, because everybody don't tweet, everybody don't follow that, but I think it should have been a national teaching moment to go on TV behind that picture and let it be known that we all share the same ancestor, the common ancestor. And to me, that revealed the ignorance of the Trump and his people who put that out. It revealed the ignorance, because if they were privy to what I just said, that we share a common ancestor and that we are cousins to the monkey, then they wouldn't have put that out there. So I was more offended with the lack of action from the black leadership than I was about that picture, Mr. Chu. Does that sound logical?
It doesn't sound illogical. Let me put it this way. I understand it doesn't sound illogical, and I'm sure that Dr. Mitchell, when he's on, would definitely have some commentary about the science behind what you just said, Andre. First and foremost, what I want to address in that space, from the things that I read, those black leaders that you named, particularly President Obama and Mrs. Obama, or Michelle Obama. Someone got after me once for referring to her as Mrs. Obama after referring to President Obama. I'll just say Michelle and Barack so that nobody gets upset. They from what I understand, this is one of those moments where they decided to go high and not go low. I get what you're saying, Andre, about the teachable moment. And I also understand that the science behind that backs up the idea that, we are cousins, if you will. But I think a lot of people, black folks in particular, stayed out of that because it would have just added to giving some credibility to Donald Trump in the first place and his people for letting it get out there. I think the teachable moment from a science standpoint could have been made. I don't disagree with you, but I think that the message to the country, the bigger message, was to show how much of a knucklehead and how much of a racist not only Trump is, but his entire administration and his cabinet are for letting that happen. And I think it's sort of which moment do we pick to work on and lean into? And in this case, I believe that was, from what I read, where they decided to go. Do I agree with it or disagree with it? I think from this standpoint, from where we are, sometimes you just have to let somebody sink. And this is a case where Donald Trump just once again tied another weight to his ankle. And for anybody, I actually, what I was more proud of, to put a positive spin on this, Andre, I was happy to see the numbers of people that did step up and say that this is racist. Many times people, and I'm also equally disappointed in some people that didn't, that should have. So I just feel like what the real story here is so many people defended him for it happening and tried to find their way to tap dance around it. And that part was what bothered me more than any of the black leaders for not saying certain things about the scientific connection. But I hear where you're coming from, without a doubt, Andre. And I'm glad you, as always, brought up a slightly different angle to how we should look at some things. And that's one of the things I appreciate about you and your commentary.
I agree with you 110%. And thank you for saying that, Mr. Chu, because you gave me another perspective in which to look at it from, which is that there are those that did speak up about it. I should focus on those that did speak out rather than those that didn't speak out, as I suggested. Teachable moments are important. They don't come across as too often. But when you get a platform, I think you should use that platform to educate people, because most people that I've encountered that are racist, they are racist out of lack of ignorance. And if they knew that we share that common ancestor, that we all connected, and that the white people too also came from that same DNA as the monkey, then they would be reluctant to do these things because it casts a shadow on them while they're trying to cast a shadow on us. It makes them look bad for their lack of ignorance.
But lack of intelligence. It still showed that, though, if you think about it, Andre. It still showed, because we know that. We paid attention in biology class, and anthropology class. But what it showed is it really did show that, and it said that the people who let this happen and that promoted it and that defended it by not saying things, or saying things that were wrong in trying to defend it, it does show how inept so many people are, and lack of understanding is just like, wow. Do you not really know the history of mammals? But.
Absolutely.
Anyhow, Andre is.
Thank you, Mr. Chu.
All right, now, man. Thanks for calling us, and thanks for your contribution, Andre.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to hit this quick break. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Chu's Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-583-5795.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high into the mid-40s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 27. By Wednesday, sunshine, high 39 degrees. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a high around 40. Friday, we'll see some sunshine, high around 45 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 37.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. So, Andre made a good point that the lack of understanding of biology and our connection to primates is just it's a rampant element of stupidity. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people were trying to. Some people were probably trying to take the high road, but the racism that came and is clear from that post is what is there. It's Black History Month, but irrespective of that, it's not irrespective of Black History Month, but irrespective of the trauma that those kinds of posts provide. We have these stars, we have these people that are just doing great things in the medical field and in general. And in this month of celebrating Black history, but which is American history, as I've said so much and so often for years, one of the leaders in fighting to protect public health during this Trump era and this just sort of attack on our civility. And I think that healthcare is a big part of having a civil society, is newly appointed. I guess now we can't say newly appointed. It's been a few months, but Dr. Roger Mitchell Jr. is installed as the 126th president of the National Medical Association. And he is with us this morning. Good morning, Dr. Mitchell, and welcome to Choose Views. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I made it to Choose Views. It took me 6 months into my presidency, but I made it. So, it's great to be here. It's good to see you, sir.
You too. I mean, I started the show off today, and I've been doing this each day of Black History Month, and I've said this for years, that Black history is American history. But I started the show off today with a clip from Dr. Joy DeGuy and her conversation around the trauma that we've suffered medically. And knowing that you were going to be on today, I thought it would be good to have you with us and talk about that. But more importantly, to talk about your ascent, your work in the medical field, and the brilliance that you brought, not only to the medical field, but specifically to how you've been so instrumental in making sure that there is equity and that there is justice when it comes to medicine. Talk a little bit about that, and of course, at the same time, if you can, let our audience know a little bit about your background and some of the great things that, just sort of your ascent to this point of being the president of the National Medical Association.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that, and happy Black History Month to you too. I'm a little young boy from Jersey, man. Born and raised in Jersey. My mother's father was one of the first Black physicians in New Jersey, and he graduated Howard Med in 1932. That's a big part of my history. because I saw how he was treating patients as a black bag doc, going from kitchen to kitchen, delivering babies on kitchen room floors and taking care of people. And the type of love that he got in community is something that I latched onto very early in my life, and then went to Howard undergrad just to kind of mimic his work. Went to New Jersey Medical School after being one of the first black men in FBI laboratories in the late 90s, 97, 98. I was an FBI DNA scientist when DNA was first coming out. And it's funny because these notions of the fact that you're black in a room full of white folk, somehow you're less than. In fact, when I was there was a big pushback at the FBI for me coming. Why is a black man here? They're lazy, and this comes from my examiner. They're not smart. And he revealed to me when I left to go to medical school, as he gave me his grandfather's tie, the late great Sam Bechtel, who is one of the pioneers of forensics science, forensic biology, white man from Virginia, became a major mentor of mine. He revealed to me, he said, I thought and I was taught that you weren't late, that black men were lazy, they were dumb, they couldn't comprehend. And you showed me that my parents were lying to me. As he gave me
Dr. Mitchell, say that again, please, for the folks in the cheap seats.
Yeah. He said my grandparents were lying to me. And see, that's why relationships are so important, right? That's why there's a push against diversity, equity, and inclusion, because the lie is up. And quite frankly, those of us that have worked together in spaces know that we're all human, right? We all have aptitudes, we all have shortcomings, we all have the ability to approach problems and solve them with excellence. And quite frankly, black people in this country have done so with such resolve and such excellence. So I left the FBI and went to medical school, New Jersey Medical School in Newark, New Jersey, and went through there and started studying violence as a public health issue, got exposed to death in custody. Amadou Diallo was killed while I was a first-year medical school. Amadou Diallo was a 22, 23-year-old that was shot at 41 times, hit 19. He had entrance wounds in the soles of his feet. He was on his back when he got killed by law enforcement. And so I wanted to study violence as a public health issue. And then I got exposed to police brutality and wrote one of the first papers on police brutality as a health issue. And then going on, I went to residency at George Washington, became the chief resident there, again, against all odds, where people thought, black men couldn't be leaders. And then went on to New York City, Houston, Texas, became the youngest chief medical examiner in the country in New Jersey in 2011. And then 2014 was the chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. For 7 years. I built out their mass fatality and then supported and was the mass fatality manager during COVID. So I ran all of those reefer trucks, the refrigerated trucks, moving bodies, supporting families when thousands were dying from COVID. And then all during that time, I got ordained as a minister. So I preached the gospel. I wrote 2 books. I've been on the Choose Views, and I've been on Lester Holt, the Dateline, and my area of expertise is death in custody. I've researched.
You co-wrote a book paper on that, correct?
Yeah, a book called Death in Custody: How America Ignores the Truth and What We Can Do About It. It really talks about stories, journalists like yourself, that have and continue to bring the stories of those that die at the hands of law enforcement, whether it's the natural disease within prisons or jails, or the multiple gunshot wounds or knees on individuals' necks like George Floyd. It's the journalists that are counting these cases, not the federal government. And there's a companion podcast called Official Ignorance, the Death in Custody podcast that NAACP nominated for an award back in 2024. I left the medical examiner world. I'm still a forensic pathologist, still do independent work, but left the medical examiner world to go into academic medicine. So I was the chair of pathology for Howard University, and then became the chief medical officer for all ambulatory care, and then became the president of Howard University Hospital, and just finished an interim tour as their president, and now the 126th president of the National Medical Association, where we work for equity and inclusion and diversity, and we work for clinical trials with Black folk in them, and education surrounding the truths around vaccines, and all the things that we're seeing now. The NMA fights for the things that are purposeful and against the things that are evil.
One of the things, and thank you so much for that, Dr. Mitchell. One of the things that I didn't want to interrupt you, or interject, but it's one of those things that we have to calm ourselves when someone says something that's exciting and inspiring. And when you talked about those relationships that we get to have, and in those relationships, both sides have an opportunity to learn something and pick something up. What popped into my mind is diversity enhances aptitude and intellect, candidly. So there's another way of, DEA or DEI, depending on how we want to, what acronym we want to put to it. But diversity enhances our aptitude, and it enhances our intellect, because we get to see another person's experience that that is from a different culture, community, and experience. And in that process, you're left with nothing but for your brain to expand. And that's so neat. And that you were able to share the story about what happened with the gentleman that said that he was lied to. I think more people in our country, I can't, that's why I wanted you to repeat that. I think more of our Caucasian brothers and sisters need to recognize that they've been lied to. And not just about the things that you say are the stereotypical statements about Black men or about Black folks, but about themselves. Many of our Caucasian brothers and sisters have been lied to about who they are and what they think about themselves. And then they find out, like, wait a minute, that's not right. That doesn't make any sense. And so it's interesting that even in the medical field, in the medical business, the medical experience, you've seen that up close and personal. I can tell you stories. One of my cousins, an older cousin of mine, is an orthopedic surgeon in Cleveland now. He's from Chicago, and he told me stories about when he was going through his initial throwing into the deep end of the pool. And, this was back, when he first came out of medical school in '79. The things that he went through where people just didn't want them to touch him when he was working in the emergency room. And then they realized that he was the one that had the best solution to this trauma that the child may have experienced or whomever. And now the parents wanted that person there, which was this Black physician that had an idea about how to solve this problem. So it is a unique experience that we have, but we persevere and we push forward. And that's one of the things I've been trying to do with my little moments in Black history each day this month, is talk about the one side of it to the other side. And sometimes the dark side, like I talked about earlier with the clip that I played from Dr. Degree on, the testing and all that without anesthesia, and the testing without, sterilization. But on the other side of that comes out someone like you who understands the opportunity to change minds and to change hearts from a medical perspective.
Yeah, just as diversity is important, sameness is important. And one of the things that is on the minds of the National Medical Association and on my mind is the fact that the requirement for diversity, equity, and inclusion for medical school recruitment and retention has been removed. So no longer do medical schools have to make an effort to ensure diversity, whether across socioeconomic lines, race, gender, creed, religion, or sexual orientation. No longer do medical schools have to make that a priority in how they recruit in their medical schools. And we know that Black patients do better, per the literature, when they're treated by Black physicians. And so the diversity of thought that happens side by side with those medical school students, with those residents in big business, right, in the economies of the world, the type of improvement that it creates, that diversity improvement that creates by that proximity, it's still sameness matters when you're talking about the trust in the healthcare system. And that's why it's so important for us to be well represented. We only make up about 5.5% of all physicians. And when we talk about Black physicians, Black male physicians, we're talking about less than 3%, or 3%. So there's work that still needs to be done to ensure that those that have the aptitude and want to go to medical school can get into medical school. And that's why supporting our HBCUs that have medical school is important, but also pushing back on this notion that that requirement should not be reinstated. That requirement is something that's extremely, extremely important.
Without a doubt. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with Dr. Roger Mitchell Jr., who is the president, newly appointed president of the National Medical Association. Dr. Mitchell, one of the things that you just said about putting that requirement back, people say, we shouldn't talk about politics and everything. We should, not talk about this, not talk about that. And I submit that when we don't talk about something, somebody else is talking about it and making decisions about it. And in this case, when we talk about politics and medicine, we talk about politics and healthcare, this current administration, federal administration, has been very detrimental to the health of our country. And if we get into different communities, the Black community, the Hispanic community, women, and the list goes on, this administration has been nothing but harmful by simply, executive ordering themselves around to pull resources from what I say is the most important thing that we all share, and that's health and well-being. So how are you as president going to, or what sort of path are you going to chart to push back on what this federal administration is doing when it comes to, halting public health care funding and, sort of back and forth, one day halting, the next day putting it back in? What's that path look like? What are you pushing for? What do you see that needs to be done with the leadership that you now have?
One of the big things that we've been doing is, we just got off the Super Bowl, so I'll use some analogies from sports, and we're in the basketball season, both offense and defense, right? So I stood up a very robust kind of response mechanism at the National Medical Association. We're watching what's going on out of HHS when it comes to vaccines. We have a vaccine task force, which several of those individuals on our vaccine task force are the leading minds in pediatrics as well as vaccines, have been the confidants and providers of support to HHS decision making through the ACIP. And so we're responding to those things when there's efforts to make changes to the formulary surrounding vaccines. We're responding to that, saying, no, this is the right information, and making sure that it's on our website, making sure that our members are clear, and making sure that our members can talk to their patients about what's important. Then there's the offense. And so making sure that we're making statements, making sure that we're leaning into our partnerships with the academies of pediatricians, and ensuring that we're helping to come up with the solutions that we see. One of the areas where we're really playing offense is in death in custody. Death in custody is a area that goes unwatched. It's where we've seen an increase in deaths among ICE detainees. We've seen an increase in deaths surrounding Border Patrol, but these are going under and not reported if it wasn't for journalists, right? And so, the National Medical Association has said, listen, we want a checkbox on the U.S. standard death certificate that says death in custody, yes or no, so that if anyone dies in the country, we know if they died behind bars, whether from natural disease or homicide or such. So we're very on the offense surrounding that. We're also on the offense surrounding AI and regulatory affairs within health and how AI is being used in healthcare. I've stood up a task force for artificial intelligence. We're developing, along with partners, an AI accelerator for businesses that have healthcare AI solutions that centralize equity and centralize access. We have a group of collaborators that want to help support, whether
How does
technical
that
support.
I'm really sorry, not to interrupt, but I just can't let that one. So talk a little bit more about that. I mean, in the conversation around AI, everybody's got thoughts and concerns about it, but help us better understand that in medical right now.
Well, so AI is so much in medical. I mean, from the little pulse ox thing that you put on your finger that tells you how much oxygen you have in your body, that's AI, and that's been around for a long time, to now ambient AI technology or AI scribes that listen to the conversation between the physician, the nurse practitioner, and the patient, and then create a note that it just needs to be reviewed, versus when you're talking to your doctor's back is to you and they're typing, that doctor can be fully engaged. Well, our communities, our physicians may not be able to, in private practice, afford that, right? Because we're several of our providers primarily deal with individuals on Medicaid that doesn't pay the same rate as commercial, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But there's AI there. There's AI that's being developed in prior authorization, right? So you might go to the doctor, you need an MRI, they say, well, your insurance needs a prior authorization, meaning it needs to be reviewed by the insurance company before it says yes, because that's an expensive procedure. There's AI that's being engaged there. There's also agentic AI that's taking information and creating the differential diagnosis for your doctor. Well, we want to make sure that there's no bias in the algorithms that are being placed into that AI. That old medicine that suggests that Black people's skin is thicker, or our kidneys function at a different level, or somehow our pain threshold is more than our white colleagues. We can't have those myths entering into algorithms that lead to diagnosis. So the National Medical Association is leaning in and saying, hey, listen, we want to support businesses, ideas that really center equity and real science and medicine as they generate AI in healthcare.
Got it. That's just fascinating. I had to interrupt you there because it hit me, and I went, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't get that. So I figured I'd raise my hand. Dr. Mitchell, let's do this right now. With all that's going on with care right now and HHS, lots of people want to know more from the experts, or the people that are in positions where they've got access to so much knowledge and information. And I refer to someone like you as a subject matter expert that our audience can benefit from your knowledge, Black, white, and everybody in between. And that's that connective, as you said, relationships and exposures. So I'm hoping that you'll be interested in coming back to talk again to our audience all over the country about why it's important to have these protocols in place that you're putting in place as a president of the National Medical Association. I really would love to invite you back and have you back a few times so that people can have a person to turn to, because they'll ask me and I'll be like, okay, let me do some research to see if I can find where those answers are. Would you be interested and willing to do that?
100%. 100%. We want to make sure that everyone has access to information at the very least.
Right.
And you can go on nmanet.org to learn more, to keep up to speed on the things that we're thinking about and writing about, but also to support our organization, because we're a group that started in 1895 just for this purpose, for the purposes of being in a place to advocate for the disenfranchised and the disinherited.
Absolutely. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell Jr., the new president of the National Medical Association, hanging out with us here this morning on Choose Views. Thank you so much, Dr. Mitchell, for taking some time out to spend with us and our audience. We look forward to having you back on the show sometime real soon. Does that sound good?
My pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Let's go to a quick break, guys. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. Captain Hugh Molzak's love for the sea started after he finished high school, as he served the British Sooners and in 1918 immigrated to the United States. Within 2 years of joining the Marines, Molzak earned his shipping master certificate, the first African American to do so. In 1921, Molzak was promoted to the rank of captain. In 1942, the SS Booker T. Washington, the first ship to be named after an African American, was created, and Molzak was offered the position of captain, but he turned it down at first, as the Marines did not want to have an integrated crew. Molzak stood firm on his beliefs, stating, "Under no circumstances will I command a Jim Crow," and Molzak became the first African American captain of the first ever integrated crew. Under Captain Molzak, over 18,000 troops were sent to the European warfront, and ships carrying tanks, aircrafts, and ammunition to United States troops in World War II. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Hey guys, this is Tara Devlin for the Political Voices Network. This is America, right? We don't do kings here. No crowns, no thrones, no authoritarian cosplay. That's why we created the No Kings American Flag pin. For the low price of $20.26, that's 2026, we're keeping our eye on the prize here. This well-crafted enamel pin is the standard 1-inch American flag lapel pin, but this one features the patriotic No Kings symbol that defines our rallying cry. It's your quiet way of signaling to other patriots that you believe in democracy, and yeah, that still matters. You can grab yours now at store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. That's store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. The No Kings American Flag pin. Get it now at store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com.
From posters and presentations to labels and loyalty cards, Staples has all the print to boost your brand. Shop now, in-store, and online. Staples. That was easy.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high into the mid-40s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 27. By Wednesday, sunshine, high 39 degrees. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a high around 40. Friday, we'll see some sunshine, high around 45 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 36.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now at Mattress Firm, save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic, plus get a $300 instant gift. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us. It was great to talk with Dr. Mitchell. There's so much more to talk about and so much more that he can bring to our conversation, and we will have him back on the show, as he said he would be very interested in doing so. I'm honored that that was a yes there, Henry. He didn't say no. I didn't tick him off or frustrate him. And he kind of, he hit the nail on the head about it. It is a collective effort. Those are my words, but his meaning was, when it comes to care, it's a collective effort. And I'm glad that he was able to speak to the importance of sharing information, and that's why I was prompted to ask him to come back, because the information that he can share and the access that he can provide doesn't have a skin color to it. You know what I mean? And that's again, those are my words, but I think it's true to that effort. Someone else that is, again, one of our newly, I guess you could say not newly anymore. It's been 6 or 8 months since we first had Anderson Clayton on the show, but she's back with us. There's a lot going on. She's been busy. She's been all over the place. Every time you look up, Anderson Clayton's telling everybody, get involved. Where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. That's a quote from our good friend Anderson Clayton, the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party. Good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Hey, Richard, look, you're giving me too much credit there. That's our state motto right there, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. That's why it's in my bio, because I want to remind people of the South, Come on now, don't tell people I quoted that one. They're going to be like, Anderson, girl, what you talking about?
No, listen, I know that's a state quote, but I don't see it in anybody else's bio, so you get 5% credit on that one. So that's like I mean, this is definitely showing my age in a good way, but that's like back when I was in school, if you did XYZ with the teacher in a particular class, you got extra credit. So you get extra credit for having that posted on your site. But Anderson, welcome back to the show. I'm so glad to have you back on. So much has been going on since we talked last, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I said to you months ago, I really want to have you on with some regularity, is because I was listening to your interview with Ali Velshi, and one of the things that stood out for me is that you talked about how important it is to be talking to folks on the ground and having the courage to get in folks' face in a positive way, to let them know, here's what we've got to be doing. And I asked you the question, I believe it was back in December, what is it that you're doing differently as a leader in North Carolina to get people involved in this process? And you shared that, Richard, we're out there, we're knocking on doors, we're making it personal. Talk a little bit about that as we are now into 2026 and marching toward the midterms.
I think it's really easy right now for folks to look at politics and say, I'd like to walk away from this, or I'd like to disengage with this because it's so divisive, it's so ugly. It brings out sort of the worst in some people right now, right, that we're seeing. And I think that one thing I try to challenge everybody to do is that, the number one place that people get their information from is the people around them. It's the folks in their networks. That voter who maybe hasn't voted the way that you think that they should every election cycle, if they're your best friend, or they're your mom, they're your dad, they're your cousin, your uncle, somebody who's loved you their entire life, they care about what you think about them, whether or not they let you know that. And the number one place of people getting their information being each other right now, we need to be talking to each other more and more than what we have been. And I think that those tough conversations are something that's worth doing. I tell people all the time, my dad was a Donald Trump voter in 2016. And if I had chosen then not to speak to him anymore about politics, or not talk to him anymore about politics, I think that in 2020 he wouldn't have been a Joe Biden voter. And I know that we've got a lot of work to do on people across this country when it comes to helping them understand how this party is going to fight for them. But the number one way that we do that is that we've got good representatives in every corner of the state, every corner of the country doing it. And so I hope that you'll get out there and talk to people and have those hard conversations.
I think people want to, well, I don't think, I know, and I know this from people telling me or asking me, but people want to get involved. They want to do something. And there is a little bit of that fear, like, and this is where we talk about voter suppression, and I think there's a participant suppression. There's an involvement suppression, and these are words I'm making up or cobbling together, but there is that. I don't want to get involved for fear of what might happen. And what you're doing is kind of polar opposite of that. You're saying, no, that's exactly what we have to do. We got to step out on faith, step out on courage, step out on whatever. But we have to do that, and we have to be willing to have those conversations. So it's great to go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and to your point, I just think that a lot of people think it's harder than it is, right? Like, I think that people look at politics and they think there's this huge barrier to entry, right? And there is in some ways, because if you don't know how to get involved with your political party, and that's why one of the things that we've really tried to do, we did this event in Charlotte last week. We had John Stamos came out because he's here in Charlotte filming season 2 of The Hunting Lives. And so, and we did an event called a Sip and Sigh, right? And like, we chose a local brewery that's democratically owned in Charlotte, and we wanted to make sure that we were supporting local businesses who right now obviously need that support, especially dealing with stuff that's happening at the federal level and the uncertainty that this administration is providing to them. But also, so many people, we had almost 70 folks come out to that event, and they had never been involved in a political event before. And I looked at them and I said, how did you find out about this event? Like, what brought you out here today? And most of them were like, I want to get involved. I didn't know where else to do. I saw this on Reddit. I saw this on Instagram. Like, there were a lot of young people there too, and I think that's what excited a lot of the older precinct chairs that I have and people that have sort of made up our party for a long time. Is that they look around and they're like, oh my God, there's fresh faces finally, and I'm like, yeah, it's not that people don't want to be involved. It's just sometimes, to your point, they just don't know how. And I think it's the job of a state party, of a county party, to help point people and help give the conduits right to being able to get involved politically. And sometimes that's like running for office. We have a lot of people in North Carolina this year that are going to, and I'm hoping too that means that we've got just new people who are gonna be able to talk to folks in a different way.
Your message there, and I really latched onto this back in December when you were on. Your message there is so pertinent and relevant in all 50 states right now. I think that I know, and you know this as the professional in the room, that the days of just playing the swing state game or the swing district game is over with, and that's we can't keep doing that. And you kind of raised the bar, certainly in the state of North Carolina, that we can't just go for the districts that have been comfortable in the past. We've got to go for all the districts, and the primary reason is, and this is me putting kind of words out there for you, is because everybody matters, even if they haven't voted in the way in which we would think is more prudent or a better way to vote. But everybody matters now because everybody's being impacted by this federal debacle, which is trickling down to the states and to the cities and localities. You've really been behind. This has got to be an all districts, all states way of operating going forward. Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, I think you can put words in my mouth anytime, Richard, too, because you were absolutely correct on that. There's a good saying that I love, and it's that, everybody is somebody worth talking to. And I think that's sort of how we have to treat everybody in this election cycle. And I know that is harder for folks who look at voters or who look at people in their lives who may have taken votes where they voted against your best interest, right? Those conversations are not the easy ones to have, but, you can't love who you're not willing to fight for. And I hope that we love everybody right now a little bit harder, and especially when you saw – I go back, to be honest with you, the Super Bowl really got me this weekend with Bad Bunny. I was like the message of that, I finally feel like culture was on our side in some ways. And
I said that yesterday, too, to the guys here. I'm sorry, Addis, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
Well, that's what we were talking about here about, one of our engineers just passionately said how it touched him, that the cultural part of what was the Super Bowl halftime show was, it was so impactful to him. I mean, and that's what we have to have. We got to touch that nerve. I believe right now we have to touch that nerve of all of us, which is, if we don't fight back with the goal being regaining our humanity, which is not a political thing. It's a human thing. Regaining our dignity, which is not a political thing. It's a human thing. But when we put the political energy behind it, we get stuff done. And that's what you've been doing. And going back to the question I was asking you about the importance of the type of energy you're putting out on a national level. This is something that has to happen in every single state, blue, red, or purple. Keep talking about why that's so important right now.
Because I think that we have so many people who are looking for that first way and that first step. We've had so many people that I think have never been involved in politics before. And, honestly, thanks to an administration that has frightened people, who has taken folks out of communities, who has been harassing, if not bullying, certain communities in our state, in our country, right? Like, we have folks that I think are finally willing to get activated for the first time. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, Anderson, I don't know where to begin, I don't know where to start, and you're not in North Carolina, I would look to who's in your backyard locally, what organizations or what groups, pick something to get involved with and be a part of. Go to a city council meeting or a county commissioner meeting in your backyard. Attend and get involved, because Republicans are trying to get us to look up so much because they don't want us looking down, and they do not want us to see what's happening in our communities right now thanks to their policies coming out of Washington, D.C., and we need storytellers in every community who are willing to go out there and talk about how this administration is negatively impacting them, because that, to me, is how we're going to actually win elections, not just in 26, but also in 28, when we give people a party that wants to fight for them. And we need people to do that on the ground, honestly.
Without a doubt. Thanks for that. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM. From where? Warren County, North Carolina. So, and I'm talking with Anderson Clayton, who is the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party. And in a couple of weeks, not too far from now, Anderson and I are going to be hanging out. So let's talk about involvement. Let's talk about being on the ground. You and I are going to be kind of co-hosting or co-handling our Building Bridges fireside chat on Sunday, March 1st at Word Tabernacle Church in Rocky Mount. We're going to have North Carolina State Rep Rodney Pierce, Dante Pittman, also Pastor James Galliard, who's running for North Carolina Senate. And fingers crossed, we might even get candidate for U.S. Senate Roy Moore to hang out. And yesterday, just to let you know, Anderson, and I'm going to make this connection, I had on the show Dr. Annie Andrews, who's running for U.S. Senate against Lindsey Graham in South Carolina, your sister state. And I kind of put it out there. I invited her to come to the event. I know it's a little bit of a travel for her, but I got to put you two guys in touch, if you guys haven't already, to get her to come up and share some of her thoughts. I mean, your neighboring states and many people in both states understand the importance of what you deliver. So we got something going on in a few weeks, and I'm excited about it.
Oh, well, I love Annie. I had a good opportunity to go down to South Carolina, and I got the chance to connect with her in 2024 when we were doing events and stuff like that for any county or state party that asked us to. One of the things that I think is awesome in this job is how much I've been able to travel around the country and meet other people who care about the places, like you said, that we've sort of overlooked or that we've forgotten in the past. And I think that it's an incredible thing. But I hope she'll be able to join us. I hope that all of y'all will be able to join us, because I am very excited. We are kicking off, March 3rd is voting day in North Carolina. So we're kicking off the last little GOTV that we're going to be doing on that Sunday. And so thank you, Richard, for coming to North Carolina to be able to do that with us. I know my state reps are really excited about it.
Yeah, I am too. And I keep, when I've talked about the former governor now running for Senate, I've said Roy Moore, and I meant to say Roy Cooper, but we're excited about having him potentially. We'll see what happens. Join us, but at this point, we've got a great lineup of people that are going to be there, and like I said, if Dr. Andrews can make it, that would be fantastic to get the perspective from her on how. And this is the thing that I've been saying for a long time, Anderson, and I want to get your take on it. How what's happening now, like never before, in one state impacts us of 3 or 4 states away, no matter how we look at it. It's no longer, well, that's over there. That's what they're doing, and, we'll let them handle that. I don't think that's the case anymore. I've been preaching this, I guess you could say, for a couple of years now. What happens in California or Maine or Florida or Oregon impacts what's going on in the central part of the country and others. And this is why, I've been working really hard to connect voices so that, one, they don't feel like they're on an island and that there's no one else out there pushing and working hard to get things done. And you've done a marvelous job of that. Your message is resonating with people, not just in the state of North Carolina, but throughout the rest of the country. Are you getting feedback let me ask you this way. What type of feedback are you getting from voters now as it relates to some of the specific things that they maybe thought they were going to get, but they're not getting, and what they thought they were going to get that they need to get?
I mean, I think especially from this administration, if that's what you're referencing right there, right?
Yes,
it's just
yes.
the fact that prices haven't gone down. Like, I think this administration, and I go back to part of one of the reasons when I look at Trump voters, right? When I talk about my dad from 2016 and the difference in his vote in 2016 and 2020, one of the reasons why he did that is because he said Trump was a liar. Like he didn't actually follow through on any of the promises that he made to people, and a lot of the people that Trump has been able to inspire, right, that were either first-time voters or non-traditional voters in 2024, did so because they were inspired by a change election. They were so fed up with politics as normal and business as usual that they were not able to really, I think, see how the government was working for them or that it was at all. And when you have a healthcare system like we do right now in this country, I don't expect anybody to think that the government is necessarily working for them. And Donald Trump, I think, really sewed that together and brought a coalition of people together that have felt like that throughout their lives. And that also means rural America included in that, but it also means young people included in that who are struggling right now. It means working people who are included in that. And all of those folks have not benefited from an administration that has supported, and to Senator John Ossoff's point that he made the other night, the richest cabinet that this country has ever seen. This administration has been bought and paid for by billionaires. And I think that folks, everyday folks across the country have woken up to that fact. And that's also what we're seeing, right, when you look at places like Minnesota. The reason why this administration has attacked that state so much is because it is the one state in the country where Democratic policies have made it a better place to live for every single person. And that includes things like the child tax credit, family leave, making sure that children have what they need for lunches and feeding kids during school. I mean, Minnesota has done some incredible work when it comes to actual policy and impacting people. And I think if we were to get serious about why this administration has chosen that state to just egregiously go into and horribly attack, right? We're not seeing a president that actually cares about good governance or good policies. We're just seeing somebody that likes to harm people.
Without a doubt. Let me ask you a question about your father. So, you obviously wanted to do what you could to help or impact his thought process, and you stayed on your pops, and look what happened in 2020. But let me ask you this: how has he taken that change and that interaction with you and used it with people that may have voted for Trump in 2016 as well? I mean, have you see what I'm saying? Has he been able to be kind of one of your allies in helping bring other people to the table in this conversation?
Yeah, I think that what's interesting, the best person, right, to be able to go out and talk to a voter who's voted for Donald Trump in the past is also someone else that has. And I think that the relatability there and giving, like, it's sort of a permission structure, right, of saying, yeah, like, I did that once too, and you don't have to do it again. I think that is something that people also need in their lives, and especially when you're looking at the villainization of people that have also voted for Trump. And one thing that I always tell people that was said by a really good philosopher, but also anti-racist, was someone that had said, you can't organize those that you don't love. And I think we could either choose right now as a country to hate people that voted the opposite way than us, or we could choose to love people and try to bring them in. And I'm always going to choose that second option. I don't want to be somebody who disregards people, who thinks that they're not worth fighting for too. But I know that's hard to do, and that's why I'm trying to be out here and encouraging everyone to do it, because I think sometimes it is easy to lose faith in people, and I want to remind folks that people can change if you put the energy and time into them to do it.
Yeah, that it's so. Take this the right way. It's such a mature way of looking at it, and we all. When I say mature, I mean recognizing that it's tough and it's hard, and then finding a way to do it. And it might be incrementally. It might be one person at a time. A good friend of mine and a colleague of the show and someone that partners with the show is a woman named Michelle Peltier. And she says that all the time, changing people's mind, changing voters one person at a time. And I'm not getting exactly right, but it's incremental in how she approaches it. And, you know, that I think that's the hard thing. And one of my other guests on the show, his name is Rich Logis from Leaving MAGA. He created an organization a couple of years ago that was really built on, there are people out there that got bamboozled and hoodwinked, and for a variety of different reasons. But he's created a bridge, a pathway for people who know that they made a mistake or maybe didn't make the best decision, how to get back. And he's been very successful because I think a lot of people are craving it. They just don't know which way to turn. So they turn back to what's familiar to them. And as a result, we don't have the opportunity to bring them into this big tent that we say that we have. So I would just go ahead. I'm sorry.
And also, no. I think you're completely right on that. And I also think we would be remiss, right, if we didn't talk about the way that media had shaped all of this. And I think that one thing Democrats have readily owned and are willing to is that Republicans had really targeted and built on a media apparatus that helped shape public opinion more than we did. And that's even like when things like Fox News or Rush Limbaugh with talk radio, right, came out. Like, people, I think, didn't take that as seriously sometimes. And to our point earlier about the Super Bowl, how much culture has shaped politics. And right now we're seeing culture shape it even more. And I think that we've also got to get in the business of shaping culture too.
Yeah, I think it's important. Talk a little bit about, as we wrap up, Anderson, the work that you're putting in and what's happening with the primary and the timing of the primary and some of the hurdles that you're coming up against in North Carolina. How you're trying to reshape that, how you're trying to get past that.
Yeah, and so for those of you that don't know, North Carolina, the DNC right now is in the process of picking the early states for the primary window in 2028. And so North Carolina submitted a bid to be the first in the nation state because we're trying to advocate for people across our state that y'all's voices are important and deserve to be part of the national process. But I think that North Carolina has so much to give, and we're in that process right now. We've got a May meeting where we'll present before the Rules and Bylaws Committee to hopefully move that primary up. But we'll stay tuned in that sense. But North Carolina's got 22 statewide races on the ballot in 28. 3 of those are going to be state Supreme Court seats that are going to determine the future trajectory of Congress, because our state Supreme Court came in and re-gerrymandered, obviously, North Carolina, which is why we are in the position that we're in right now with a 10-4 minority, could be 11-3 minority if we don't keep Don Davis's seat where it needs to be right now in CD1. And so our party's really looking at a long-term strategy when it comes to why should North Carolina be moving up and the fight to be able to do that. But we're excited about it.
Listen, guys, the youngest party leader in the country, and in North Carolina. So that just goes to show you that things can change if we decide to lean in to make them change. And Anderson, you have been at the forefront of that. And I say that with all due respect and all due flowers and kudos that you should have. You have been at the forefront of using your energetic voice and your passion and your care and love to bring people into this process. So I am so proud of you, and I say that with respect, that you have been a fighter. We've got your back, and we're going to continue to be here and be a partner with you to do everything we can to pull North Carolina's power to the forefront nationally. So thank you so much. How can folks find you? How can they get with you and support the work that you're doing?
Thank you for that, Richard Chu. I would not be where I am today, though, without fantastic mentors and people who have helped me get there. So a very big shout out to Ben Wickler, who I think made me the party chair that I am today, who was our former party chair in Wisconsin. And we've seen what Wisconsin was able to do with that. But folks can follow me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Blue Sky, Anderson Clayton, Andy Breeze on some of those. I'm not going to lie to y'all. My handles do change. So just search me, Anderson Clayton, in that chat box. And also, ncdp.org is where you can go and volunteer. We are, regardless of where you are in the world right now, you can get involved with North Carolina Dems. And if you want to see a pathway to the U.S. Senate to be taken for Democrats, you are investing your time and your energy and your talents into our great state this year.
Without a doubt. Anderson, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks so we can do our event there and keep this train moving forward. So thanks for being with us. Stay safe, and we will talk to you soon. Sound good?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Be well. Bye-bye. All right, Henry, let's take let's do this. Let's grab a quick call. Let's see what Chris from Philadelphia has to say. Good morning, Chris. Welcome to Choose Views on WCPT in Chicago. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me, brother, on this beautiful Black History Month. Just wanted your thoughts on a few topics and issues. I heard the medical professional and the lady that you just had on. What are your thoughts with people that say the biggest issue going on with our community is not so much racism but accountability, and that the U.S. produces the most black billionaires than any other country in the world, especially people that are socialists who talk about socialism. I had a lot of people ask me what social programs indoor countries have produced more billionaires than the United States.
Got a little background noise, Chris, so I'm not quite, I think I got your question in terms of you're asking me what do I think about social programs in the United States and how they've impacted our economy or the impacted wealth of people in the country? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I heard your other guests and whatnot, and I had a lot of people, I've been talking to a lot of people, and they said America produces, because I know a lot of, I guess, Democrats are socialists, and America, which is a capitalist nation, has produced the most black millionaires than any other country in the world, and millionaires in general. So how would, what do you think, what would you recommend outside of a capitalist society that would be able to produce in a free market, because if a socialist wouldn't be a free market, would be able to produce that amount of millionaires or wealth in that country? And if you could give examples.
Well, the time I need to unpack that the right way, we don't have, because we've got to take a break in a second. But here's what I'm going to say in as quick a manner as I can. I think that access to opportunity, access to capital, access to education, access to tools for any community is always going to be a way forward. And if those things are not available, if those things are stunted, then no community can actually go forward in a successful way. And the disparity that has been part of the United States, without a doubt, database, not just my opinion, Chris, is that the access to those things, if that weren't true, then the current federal administration wouldn't be trying to take away access to education, access to care, access to resources, financial and otherwise. So I think it starts there. I think it starts with us acknowledging that without access to the tools that have allowed communities to prosper, not only to survive but to thrive, as so many people have said, without access to those things, then we end up going backwards. So I'm not sure that answers your question.
Can I just ask a follow-up question?
We got to get to a quick break, because we really do. But why don't we do this? In all fairness, give us a call back, and we will work to get you on, and we can talk about this in more detail. Is that fair?
That's fair. Appreciate it. Thank you
so much. Have a great day, Chris, and thanks for the call and contribution. Let's take a quick break, guys. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
You know, winter in Chicago hits hard. Is your home ready to stay warm and energy efficient? At Green Attic, they help you fight back against the cold. They're Chicagoland's trusted experts in attic insulation, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, and mold remediation, solutions that lock in warmth and cut your heating bills. If your upstairs feels freezing or your furnace never stops running, your attic might be the culprit. Their team seals in comfort and stops energy waste at the source. Need roofing? Their sister company, Green Attic Roofing, offers asphalt, flat, premium roofs, and even Tesla solar roofs, all backed by a 10-year labor warranty and instant online quotes. Winter storms don't wait. Replace that aging roof now and protect your investment. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic delivers real comfort, real savings, season after season. Visit greenattic.com for a free insulation consultation or go to greenatticroofing.com for your instant roofing estimate. Green Attic, healthy home, happy family.
Experience matters, especially when it comes to public safety. I'm Amy Johnson, and I've spent more than 20 years serving Kane County. I began my career on patrol, worked as a detective, Kane County Major Crime Supervisor, served as Chief of Staff, and now proudly serve as Undersheriff. That experience gives me a full understanding of the job, the budget, and the serious responsibility that comes with leading a sheriff's office. I know that public safety isn't just about enforcement, it's about accountability, transparency, and working in partnership with the community. I believe in supporting deputies and staff, using taxpayer dollars responsibly, and making decisions that keep Kane County safe while treating everyone with dignity and respect. Today and into the future, I'm focused on strengthening trust, building community partnerships, and ensuring Kane County remains a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. This election, vote for Amy Johnson for Kane County Sheriff. Early voting has begun. The primary is March 17th.
Paid for by Friends of Amy Johnson.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high into the mid-40s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 27. By Wednesday, sunshine, high 39 degrees. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a high around 40. Friday, we'll see some sunshine, high around 45 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 36.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Chu's Views.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. 773-763-9278 is the number. Great to have Anderson Clayton on with us, who is the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party, and of course having Dr. Mitchell on with us as well prior to that. What a great guy that's leading in an area that he's faced things that many people can't face. Certainly haven't faced, but certainly if they did, they wouldn't be able to face them with the strength that he has. And I always like talking to the people who face things that we all live in a certain, someone said to me this weekend, it was actually my nephew, said to me that we all live in our own silo, whether we, in our own environments, whether we know it or not or acknowledge it or not. And it was really, I thought that's why, you listen to other people as best you can. Some people you shouldn't listen to because I think that they're off their rocker and they need to work to get back on their rocker. And then there's those that will surprise you every now and again. But like Anderson said, we have to do the best we can to put out as much reach and love to people who may not be there with us and may not agree with us on everything, but we still want to be able to fight and go forward. With us this morning is someone that has definitely been, for lack of better words, respectfully, I say, kind of the poster person. I'm not going to call you poster child, but the poster person of fighting against the odds of things coming at her in her campaign for state representative. Talking about Demi Palecek. Good morning. Welcome back to Choose Views.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I could just ask you this big, broad question about everything, but remind our listeners what you're running for and why you're running for this state representative seat.
Yeah, I'm Demi Palecek. I'm running for 13th District State Representative. It starts in literally half of Wrigley Field and goes up to Uptown, Andersonville, Edgewater, Ravenswood, and then has like a little arm out as well. I'm running because, it grows every day. I'm working class. I'm Latina. I'm queer. I'm a veteran. And right now we need someone who will actually stand up to the Trump administration, which I have done time and time again. I'm one of the 2 National Guard members standing up against our ICE orders and the administration. My unit told me the other day, like, Hegseth literally knows your name. And I'm like, good. So I just think as a working class person, our politicians are so disconnected from real struggles. I know what it's like. I've been working since I was 14, washing dishes to help my family stay afloat. And, I saw a couple of events that people have been having in the party lately, and they had crab legs and insane things that, tonight I have a sandwich making event that my district needs.
Sandwich making.
Yeah, that we need right now. And it was just like that disconnect is so crazy to me. We need real working class people in office.
Demi, what's the most annoying thing, frustrating thing that ticks you off the most about this Trump administration?
How much time do we have? It's so many things, like from them not, they're being obsessed with laws and like, why don't you just follow the rules, to they have never followed a single rule, or they make their own rules and to how they want to play, or, how they treat people. What they're doing to the Latino community is disgusting. And that is like the backbone of this country. That is who built this country, and how they treat people is just disgusting. And I don't think they understand, I guess, even their followers. That's what really, really makes me boil, because, a lot of military members vote Republican. A lot of labor votes Republican or voted for them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're cutting you first, babe. What are you doing? You know?
Yeah. Well, and the Latino community, the African-American community, obviously, enslavement and post-enslavement, our Native American, so many, and really those are the 3 communities that are being attacked the most and the most viciously by this administration, by policy and executive order. And at the same time, the GOP is not, the party at large, to your point, some of the people that are supporters aren't doing anything to push back, anything that's significant. And I think that's starting to come out more and more, that it's not just Donald Trump and even his administration and or his cabinet. It's the entire GOP. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, I've been saying that a lot for a long time, but what are your thoughts there in terms of the entire GOP, not just, the administration or the cabinet?
I think that the first time Trump was in office, there were people who were like, wait, actually, you can't do that, or actually, that's illegal. And then he just fired them. Mm-hmm. And so this time around, the reason that it's even more potent is that he has nothing but yes men around him. And that's what's most dangerous. And yeah, they definitely found their little cult to just amplify all this hate and make it acceptable.
Yeah. And that's the thing, to make it acceptable. And when I was talking with Anderson about this and a little bit in terms of voter suppression is a big issue for all of us in all communities. But the suppression also is in terms of activity and people being involved and being willing to fight. And that's one of the things that I think is equally concerning for me, is people being made to feel like you shouldn't be involved. And if you get involved, if you protest, if you speak out, then we're coming for you, or we're going to make your life difficult. And that seems to be becoming more and more their theme. Doesn't mean we accept it, doesn't mean we sit back, doesn't mean we stay at home, but it does seem to be a big part of their push right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm one of the 2 National Guard members speaking out. I'm under investigation right now. Technically, it would be the same as like an indictment on the civilian side. They pulled my my classification of security, which is crazy because Hegseth like texts war plans to press. Like I would have gone to jail if I've done that. And yeah, I'm flagged, so I can't promote, I can't go to schools, things like that. And it's all because I read the Constitution.
Yeah. Well, and it's also because you're a threat to, frankly, their BS, candidly. You're a threat to speaking the truth that you've spoken and showing up at the events like you have and being one of 2 voices that said if there were an order from, and what you guys should understand is has it been since 2011 that you're part of the National Guard?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that she wears with honor is her position with the National Guard. But she was clear, unapologetically said it on basically national television, that if I were to receive, I will reject an illegal order. Talk a little bit about that. And again, as we mentioned before, what that has brought upon you, just as an individual, get alone as someone running for state representative.
Yeah, it brings a lot of death threats, which my way to cope is humor. But yeah, I mean, so we've definitely had to hide addresses, things like that. When we have events, we don't post where it is, obviously, for security purposes. And they're never National Guard members or service members who are sending the threats. It's always just MAGA. And then service members is where I get thank you. Like, I'm so scared my family depends on this. Or that's how my family got papers was because of the military. I can't leave now. They said they would take it away. But thank you. Because you're crazy, but that's like the good crazy. And like I said, in trouble in the military, but I think, it just looks so much like 1930s, 40s Germany. And I remember being little, learning about it and being like, I would have said something. Why is no one saying something? And now I'm like, I'm not going to shut up at all.
Yeah. I think that ties back to what a lot of people, at least they say they're asking for, are fighters. And certainly when I say that, I mean people that are running for office and are currently holding offices, that they want people who are going to be fighters. They want people who really understand that even with what you're dealing with, you recognize that there's someone that's in a position that's even of greater risk or less access. How do you look at that in terms of, even though it's crazy, even though there's craziness going on, that's basically what people are asking for, is someone that's willing to take that step out there, that step out on faith, that step out on courage.
Yeah, I want a real fighter. I don't want a strongly written letter. I don't want a social media post. I want you on the lines with me at Broadview Detention Center, which is where I've seen multiple elected officials. And those I'm like, all right, we are cool from here on out. I'll give a shout out to Alderman Andre Vasquez. Mm-hmm. I remember we were out there and I was like shaking because I saw my uniform coming and attacking us. And I didn't know what to do. I started panicking and we're locked arms. And I look back and he's behind me and I'm like, damn, he's behind me. Like, this alderman's doing that. Mm-hmm. Okay, like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a real fighter to me. And so just tweeting about this is not right, that's unacceptable for me. And how many people who are running, even my opponents, they're like, I'm a fighter, but they're too afraid to talk to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm actively going after Trump and Hegseth and the military. No.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a couple things there that to try to unpack a little bit. I talk on this show often about people are looking for something to do. They want to get involved. They don't know what to do, and then in some cases they're afraid to get involved. I fully understand that. I mean, I'll put it in this vein, and this is really not to oversimplify it. I love to hike, and I mean hiking at altitude and hiking in different places, and it's challenging. You lose your air quality, decrease. I mean, all those things, and you're at a different altitude, you're at different terrain, all those things, and yet, then you come up on a path that you don't know, and so you want to go down that path, but there's fear or apprehension or unknowing. We all deal with that. And I think that the real fighters right now are the ones that are saying, yeah, that's reality, but I have to push through and go down that path anyhow. And so I don't necessarily criticize someone that's a regular everyday person for being concerned and fearful or apprehensive. But the people that we elect to our offices of leadership, they don't, I hate to say it this way, but they don't have that luxury. Eric Grant, who hosts a family meeting, often talks about we put our faith in those people that we've elected to go and represent our permanent interest. And you seem to have kind of taken that and to the 10th degree.
Yeah. I mean, I think right now we are in such dire need. Where is everyone? Like, if not me, then who?
Right.
And I feel so strongly about what is going on and for people. Like I said, I'm Mexican. I have to be the voice for the people who are silenced and who are in hiding right now. And I just can't get over, at Broadview, what enrages me most is seeing like little children, like 5, 6, holding their 13-year-old sister's hand, knocking on the door, looking for their family. Like, do you have our parents? How are we going to pay rent? Even one of my friends, she gave me permission to share this story on the campaign trail. They've been married for 10 years, been trying for papers for 9 years. In the Latino community, you call it fixing papers, essentially. So they've been trying to fix their papers for 9 years, $80,000. And they just went to Mexico like 2 months ago. Because if you don't know, the process is really hard. It's years, decades sometimes. There really is no process. So you have to go live in Mexico, essentially, and work with the consulate there and see. You don't know how long. So you don't know if you're out of work for how long. And then you hopefully get approved and can come back. And if you're not approved, you're just there without all of your belongings here.
Right.
So then they were finally approved after 10 years or so. And they get to the airport and he's not approved anymore. And so then the baby and my friend had to come back. They don't have income. The baby is autistic. So they, like, what do they do? And so he's out there for how long and no one can work. It's just like you put these people in dire situations. And so I think right now is when we do need a leader and a fighter that we can depend on.
The broken system is something that also, broken systems is such a part of our conversation. Our immigration system's broken. And, many of us are working every day to fix it. But so many other systems are broken that are support systems for all of our society. And I'm glad you touched on that a little bit. We're talking with Demi Palecek, who is running for the 13th District State Representative here in Illinois. And you're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Demi, let's talk about some moments of pride, I guess we could say, in recent days, and that was a Super Bowl halftime performance. I mean, I've had a handful of conversations with people over the last day and a half, 2 days, that the cultural representation and the cultural pride that was on show, no pun intended, meant a lot for so many people. Not just, and I will say, not just those who are of Mexican, Hispanic, Latino descent, but frankly, for I think anybody of culture or any American, if they slow down just enough and go, that's kind of who we all are, what we should be aspiring to be. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was actually kind of sick this week, and I've been outside door knocking, so it's been too much in the cold, and I hear often I don't protect my neck enough. So, so I'm wearing my Bad Bunny shirt that I didn't get to wear, actually. No, it was beautiful. I mean, and it was like so cool to watch so many like Latino, tidbits in there, like from the kids sleeping on the chair. Like that's a normal thing at weddings. Yeah. Like, and it's like a joke. You know what I mean? And just the thought that he puts into it is so beautiful. Yeah, I'm originally from Southern Illinois, so I see, my very like Chicago-based, like culture, like loving side, and then I also see like my side that has never left my hometown, and how angry they are, and I just kept seeing they, if we're in America, it needs to be in English. No one understands. And it's like, well, I mean, the Constitution's in English, the Epstein files are in English, and y'all don't understand those either. So,
see, this is Henry. This is one of the things that I really appreciate about Demi is that, see, the sarcasm that just came out. the beauty of it is it's based in fact. That's the cool part about it. She was sarcastic and delivered some humor about something that's really important to us, but it's based in fact. And the fact is that a lot of people will bifurcate their thinking on things. Seeing that baby in the chair, yeah, right on. But a lot of folks didn't know what that's all about. One of our engineers, and you guys know his name, Mike Mercado, we talked about this yesterday, and how it made him emotional to see that representation. But the part that just I look at it and I go, hey, wait a minute, folks, slow down, America. You want to not have a Super Bowl event, have a representation from a Latin-speaking man because you don't understand. Well, go do some damn homework. Go learn another language. English is not the only language spoken on the planet, and it's not the most spoken language on the planet. And, oh, by the way, there are people in this country that look like Demi, who's a fair-skinned Latina, and look like me, that speak multiple languages. So get out of your way, America, and understand that you don't, just because you don't understand something because it's in a different language, doesn't excuse you from learning something new. And if the Constitution, like Demi said, and the Epstein files are written in English, you don't understand that either.
I've noticed
it's one of the best lines that I've heard anybody drop on us about not understanding.
I put it on Threads yesterday. It did pretty well. I mean, the people who are most angry about it being English are the people who don't know the difference between there, and there. And I just think it's so ironic.
Or your.
Yes. Why? Right? It's alarming.
Yeah, it is. But you know, I go back to something that was said earlier in the show today about the ignorance factor. Dr. Mitchell talked about this in terms of the perspective that he experienced as a physician and as he's come along in his career, and now the president of the National Medical Association. And he said that a doctor pulled him aside, one of his mentors, that, you know, he apologized essentially, and he gave him his endorsement. You know, not that he needed the white man's endorsement, but this was a white man that gave him his endorsement as a physician to his next plight in life. I'm sorry, my parents lied to me. This white senior doctor told this younger black physician, I'm sorry, but my parents lied to me. And it was proven because of what? He was exposed to something different that made him have to learn that this young black doctor knew what he was doing. I put the Bad Bunny halftime show in a similar light. People didn't know they've been lied to.
Yeah. I mean, and I think Anthony Bourdain said it. Leave where you're from.
Yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone, because that's when you learn. I mean, I was raised Republican, even though my mom is from Mexico and my dad was from New York, but like that was just kind of bred. And then when I left there and went to Chicago and joined the military and traveled and whatever, like seeing so many different cultures and so many beautiful people, I was the Mexican where I'm from. So if I'm the Mexican where I'm from, like, you know that I'm the diversity, like that's not good. So, I mean, yeah, it's so important to our country. Like that is what our country is made of. Like, and for you to be against any Mexican, Hispanic, Latino culture, like,
yeah,
you know, like you eat our food, you use our work. Like, who do you think's cooking your food at any place that you're going to, or building anything, or, you know what I mean? Like, we are everywhere and we're not leaving.
No. And that's the thing that I think is one of the big fear factors. There's so many people, for all of us that are of color, or our LGBTQ community and our women, and the list goes on and on. There's a part of our society, this sort of mythical straight white Christian male is the best thing since sliced bread, and it's being torn apart, and that's got them really ticked off that we're exposing it, and without apology. And that's why they're fighting back. They wouldn't be fighting back against it so hard if it weren't something that were true, and that they are. I look at it and say, why be afraid of it? Just embrace it. And like the doc said earlier, you know, and that if we just embrace that kind of thinking, then we're all going to be better for it. It's not that difficult to understand. But a lot of people, just can't get there. Demi, talk about why you're going to be good in this seat as a state representative for District 13.
Yeah, I would be amazing in this seat because I'm very much my district. I am working class. I come from an immigrant family. I'm queer. I am a millennial, and I'm still working class. Yeah. And that is very much my district. I am the only candidate that is not bought by a certain organization or certain foreign money. I have very strict rules on myself on the money I can take. So I'm grassroots, which grassroots is like the new word for poor in politics. But I think that's important. I think that, someone complained the other day that I'm beholden to the people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's like the point of like why we need to fight the system, right? Yeah. So I am not establishment. I think that we need to be doing better for our community. And if that means having a pathway for citizenship, if that means holding ICE accountable, which I think we definitely need trials. In my district, we just lost our third hospital in 6 years. And with all the Medicaid, Medicare cuts, with every cut we're having, like that is very severe. The next hospital ride is 25 minutes away. That's life or death.
That's life or death.
Yeah. I don't know. I just care about everyone. I don't really have family anymore. So the district has become my family. There's a lot we can be doing for children. Like, why is the food being thrown away at the end of the week? Like, that could have gone home. And also, like, I would be the only Democratic or progressive veteran in the entire state house of Illinois.
Wow.
So, and I want to hold the military accountable, too. Like, why is our budget like that? And we make no money. And we've had so many cuts that come towards us. And they're not paying my student loans right now like they promised. They're going back on a lot of things that they've promised. And I'm the only one that knows that. You know what I mean? And we don't really have a voice in the state house.
Well, they know it now. Demi Palecek, running for the 13th District State House of Representatives here in our wonderful state of Illinois, has been hanging out with us this morning. Thanks for being with us. But before we go, let folks know how they can follow you and how they can get involved with your campaign.
Yeah. So anything is Demi for Illinois, DEMI for Illinois. Instagram, website, please come door knock, donate. Every little bit matters so much to a grassroots campaign. If you can share with your friends, family, door signs, anything like that, everything is much appreciated. But yeah, I mean, like you said, like, I think it's been amazing how many of my volunteers, it's their first time door knocking. Like, they've never been involved in politics, but they're like, right now, this is what we need. So please come out. It's fun. We'll have a canvassing day with actually David Hogg in a couple weeks. I'm endorsed by him and do gun violence prevention initiatives with him. So that'll be a cool event. I'm working with Planned Parenthood, do that as well. So we'll do a canvas day with them. So yeah, come door knock. I'm out every single day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Demi, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We're going to wrap up the show today, guys. As I always say, stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey Chicago, Joe Fontana here, founder of Fry the Coop. At Fry the Coop, we serve the best chicken sandwiches in the world. And no, that's not an opinion, that's a fact my taste buds personally signed off on. At Fry the Coop, we hand bread every single piece of chicken, double fry it in 100% beef tallow, and we hit it with our secret Fry the Coop spice rub like it owes us money. The result? A Fry the Coop sandwich so crunchy, juicy, spicy, sweet, salty, and savory, it feels illegal. Fry the Coop has a one-of-a-kind sandwich that makes your taste buds high-five each other. Don't like it? No problem. We guarantee happiness or your money back. But don't worry, you're not going to need it. We now have 10 Fry the Coop locations around the Chicagoland area. So no matter where you're at, there's a good chance there's a Fry the Coop 15 minutes away. And we're a local Chicago company, born and bred, for the people, by the people. So come down and support your local boys and get the best chicken sandwich in the world. Right here in Chicago, right here at Fry the Coop.
Stephanie Miller here. If eating is stressing you out, you're not alone. There's so much confusion around food. One day something's good for you, the next day it's not. No wonder digestion can feel chaotic. What I learned from the Tummy Whisperer is reassuring your body isn't broken, it's communicating. It needs proper guidance. That's why I trust Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions as a certified digestive health specialist. Renee works one-to-one, helping people make sense of their symptoms without extremes or overwhelming them. If you've changed your diet and feel the same or worse, if bloating, reflux, constipation, diarrhea, and low energy are running your life, Renee will help you connect the dots. Digestion will calm down, food can feel easy again, and you don't have to figure it all out alone. You've got the Tummy Whisperer. Learn more at thetummywhisperer.com or call Renee at 847-207-2034. One more time, that's 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high into the mid-40s. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 27. By Wednesday, sunshine, high 39 degrees. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a high around 40. Friday, we'll see some sunshine, high around 45 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 36.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
You know, winter in Chicago hits hard. Is your home ready to stay warm and energy efficient? At Green Attic, they help you fight back against the cold. They're Chicagoland's trusted experts in attic insulation, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, and mold remediation, solutions that lock in warmth and cut your heating bills. If your upstairs feels freezing or your furnace never stops running, your attic might be the culprit. Their team seals in comfort and stops energy waste at the source. Need roofing? Their sister company, Green Attic Roofing, offers asphalt, flat, premium roofs, and even Tesla solar roofs, all backed by a 10-year labor warranty and instant online quotes. Winter storms don't wait. Replace that aging roof now and protect your investment. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic delivers real comfort, real savings, season after season. Visit greenattic.com for a free insulation consultation or go to greenatticroofing.com for your instant roofing estimate. Green Attic, healthy home, happy family.
These are real stories of speech-language pathologists and the people they helped.
He was in his 30s.
55 and far from home.
15 years old with multiple disabilities.
It was a traumatic brain injury.
He's bilingual but lost his English after the stroke.
Several surgeries led to his swallowing disorder.
His goal was to get back to work.
I used French during therapy.
Others almost gave up on the goal of him eating.
Oh, he was dedicated.
Together, we built his life back.
Social interaction was the key to helping him.
And he made it back to work.
When he ate, his friends cheered.
Everyone has the right to communicate.
And later, he was able to travel across the world to his family.
Are you or someone you know experiencing a speech, language, or swallowing disorder? An ASHA-certified speech-language pathologist can help. Visit us at asha.org/public.
The Hal Sparks radio program.
We wouldn't even have Tesla if it wasn't for Barack Obama. Obama insisted that there be funding for electric car companies in the rescue package in 2009. And Tesla was the single biggest beneficiary of it because they were further ahead, because Elon Musk had bought Tesla as a company outright and was pretending to run it, as he does right now.
Hal Sparks, Saturdays from 11 to 1 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
The Sports Cubicle,
We have a two-time national champion, head coach of the North Central Football Cardinals. It's Brad Spencer joining the Sports Cubicle today.
How much do you have to live in the world of the transfer portal?
If you look at what's going on, so much of college football at the higher levels particularly has become transactional, and we want to stay transformational. It's always been about being an all-American father, husband, and teammate.
The Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT.
Hi, this is Patty Vasquez, and I'm thrilled to announce that Driving at Home with Patty Vasquez now has its very own podcast that you can subscribe to. Actually, 2 Driving at Home full episodes and Driving at Home featured interviews. You can subscribe to one or both. Just search for Driving at Home wherever you get your podcasts, or get the podcast links on my show page by visiting heartlandsignal.com and clicking on my picture.
Patty Vasquez, weeknights 5 to 7 on WCPT 820. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
Very happy to welcome John Fugelsang back to our airwaves.
Joan, I love CPT so much. I've had so many good times at your studio, and I just want to thank you for what you do. I think what you do is just so smart and so positive and strong and moral, and you model for these liberals how to do it with intelligence and guts. Always intelligence and guts.
Joan Esposito, weekday afternoons 2 to 5 on WCPT 820.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.